back with more Barnstable This Morning. I'm Sarah Colvin, and joining me live in studio, Town Manager Tom Lynch. Tom, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Did I hear that you went down to the vote on Saturday with the Hyannis Fire Department?
I did. It was, I have to say, it was a great outpouring of community support. It was wonderful to see so many people taking time on their Saturday to vote. Regardless that they're for or against, it's just good to see people participating in the public process.
Well, I think it's important too that people know that, it was a 2/3 vote. So it's meant to be a steep challenge because individuals are taxing themselves, and they need to look at what's the level of service they're getting, what's the quality of the facility they have, and how long will it last. All those questions that I think were vetted over the course of the last year or so, and I'm very pleased that the department won. But it's a system that's there, and I think that it was good to see that the citizens supported it by a margin of 73%, which
Absolutely.
was really a difficult vote to get. So. It was
Indeed.
well done.
Not easy at all, but yes, again, good to see so much turnout, and I'm glad for the Hyannis firefighters that they will finally get that new station.
Well, and it's not just the residents of Hyannis, but it's all of us who work here during the day, and all our visitors, so it's great to see.
Absolutely. So capital improvement plan moving right along with approvals.
Well, I would say we probably got through about half of the plan on last Thursday. The schools were supported; all their items went through. Same with the airport; they, did a good presentation of what their projects were. The IT, our information technology item went through, and then there were two items for renovation to both of our golf courses. So those went through. I thought that the items that generated considerable discussion were somewhat around our economic development. We had a shanties proposal where in the park right behind us here at Town Hall, we're going to add 5 shanties, and a lot of the councilors spoke up in terms of how they saw that as good for both Main Street and the walkway to the sea, and to have them there on a year-round basis so they could, use them during the Christmas stroll or other times during the year. Then the dredging at Gateway Marina, again, an economic development issue right down in the harbor, and that was an expensive item. Dredging is expensive, and we'd like to figure a way to have it be less so, but when you're taking out the cubic yards that we are to keep the waters navigable and flowing, but that passed. And then also there was a land purchase down in the center of Marston's Mills, and it really connects the library and the men's club, the upper part of the village, with down on the Route 149 in that area. And so we're going in and have been doing redesigning of the village walkway, the sidewalks, things of that nature. And this was a parcel that wasn't originally in the capital improvement plan, but something that councils brought to us and said, look, could we work this in? And it fit with the criteria in the projects that we were pushing. So we'll take the second half up at the next council meeting and see how much progress we make then.
Absolutely, and certainly good to see the process moving forward, and I think people are doing well with their presentations, and nice to see again that economic development factor is big when we look at the future.
Well, at the same time that we're voting on the capital improvement plan, we've still been working on our operating budget, and that is takes many months. But I thought I'd just give an idea of some of the documentation that we go over on a regular basis. Mark Milne and Bob O'Brien, our finance director and budget director, and assistant town manager Mark Ells and I sit and we'll look at sheet after sheet of those items that we've been able to break down and try to determine whether they'll be in or out, or how they fit with our overall plan. So for instance, the first thing we look at is the personnel. And it could range from, a part-time person to open a gate at Crocker Neck, which is, an area of town where people go down and visit. But there's a gateway there, so we're funding that this year. How's that going to operate? all the way up to our Adult Supportive Day program, where, you know, the council want us to maintain that deficit or not, and so that's, you know, well over $100,000 expenditure in personnel that we have to move in. So whenever you're doing personnel changes, large or small, you know, as our departments request them, we review them to justify exactly whether or not they're worthy of including.
Sure.
And we always try to keep those expenses down. And then, of course, we go into all of our operating expenses. So they can be recurring, we see them every year, or they can be just a one-time expense. And again, they can range from a flu vaccine. The cost of the flu vaccine went up, and we like to provide that service to our residents, all the way up to increasing the number of catch basins that we do. And again, we're looking at the town council's budget, the town manager's budget, administrative services, DPW, the police, all the way through for each of these personnel or operating expenses. Then again, the third thing we're looking at is operating capital. So while we're doing the operating budget, the capital improvement budget now, items that fall below the threshold for bonding,
right.
We have an operating capital portion of the operating budget. So that'll include something like new cruisers for the police department. We know that's something we're often replacing on a regular basis because they go 24/7. It's the officers for the patrolmen right out on the street all the time. So we have things like that. And then we go through all of our enterprise accounts. And while the enterprise accounts have their own separate funding source, generally fees or other ways of bringing revenue in, at the same time, we need to be sure that they're operating in the black, their expenses are in line. And this year, as I think we've said on this program before, if viewers remember that Barnstable has really more enterprise accounts than most other cities and towns in the state. So we view it as a way to provide services, but those that are taking advantage of the services, whether it's golf or the marinas or the landfill, they're paying for those services. So it keeps it off of the regular operating budget, and it's only those that are using it that are paying for it. This year we're going to, under changes at the state level, we're going to be adding a ninth enterprise account, and well, I hope it's not news to everyone here at the station. It's actually our Comcast account. So I started a few years ago putting the Comcast budget in the regular budget. It fell under my jurisdiction, but I wanted the town council to see what the expenditures were and what we were doing. Well, now they've folded that into an enterprise account, so the town council will actually take a vote on what those general expenditures will be.
Great.
So we're doing all of that, and then I think also this week we are meeting to discuss the South Coast bike route. That was something that was delayed at one of our previous town council meetings, and so we're going to sit down with DPW, look at what that bike route looks like, and then we've got a meeting set up with the town council leadership to discuss that with them, and then we'll figure out whether we get a reconsideration of that vote and are able to move forward on that. So.
Indeed, and that was something that had been approved in a previous CIP. But again, and as I think it's safety concerns. I think were mostly the councilors' concerns as to kind of delaying the implementation of this.
Exactly, and we want to be sure that that it's going to be a change in terms of signage along the south side of the Cape, and we want to be sure that they're all comfortable with that.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, I thank you so much, as always, for joining us here on Barnstable This Morning, and we'll catch up with you again next Monday's Patriots Day, is it not?
That's right.
It is. So we'll be watching the Red Sox.
And I'll, of course, be running in the marathon.
Of course, me too. We'll race. Okay, sounds good. All right, Tom Lynch, of course, is our town manager, our interim superintendent of schools. Bill Butler is next here on Barnstable This Morning.